If you want to have any conversation, discussion, questions, answers. Yeah, sure.
Thank you. Lovely presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I have a lot of questions actually. In the Psychology Institute, am I correct in understanding that people come there to learn psychology, or is that like an asylum?
No, it's a
They come to
it's a
learn
college.
psychology.
They,
Yeah.
they
So
go there.
then why was the theme of the video chosen otherwise, like trying to break through and not being able to get out?
Because of this idea that the project is very hermetic.
Okay.
So it is tricky, no? Because most of the architects would like to tell about their spaces as you're going to be happy and playful there, no? So that already was a step on the side of that, no? You're not really going to talk about your architecture as a place where you want to escape from, no? But probably also there's this higher idea for them that we really wanted to be hermetic to the rest of the system of the city around, because we don't think that there's anything better going on around there to which to relate when you are a student other than the sky, no? Or, nature in those courts. So it's a very inside project, no? So, yeah, it is somehow a little bit excessive on
No,
this.
it's a beautiful video, just that I thought the idea was very different to the purpose of the building. So was there a conflict with the architect, or
No,
that was
just the opposite, because it was him who.
Oh, he wanted it like that.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was the conversation with him. Yeah, and also because in that way, we could be able also to generate some situations that might have to do with what you might be controlling or learning about in that kind of space, no? About this, like there's multiple personalities, or there's this game with the stairs where she's trying to escape in the stair, like climbing or going down. So it has to do with neuroscientist experiments that at the time we were discussing with them. So that it was interesting that people trust much better a face telling you an information than an arrow, no? So that was also a way of being playful with the system, no? So if a psychologist is going to see the video, we'll also feel somehow a relation between what is being told and what he's studying, no? So small parts of it had to do with the academic psychology world, no? So that was a way to go, no?
And the furniture was removed, or was the film made before?
It was made before.
Okay.
It was made before. Because usually furnishing this kind of building, 30,000 square meters of education spaces, it might take months, and it might happen in a very uncontrolled manner, and it's a huge amount of work to try to reorganize. So we decided let's film the space as it is, empty, no?
And my last question, I promise. So in the last project with the rain collector, so the model had very modern tattoos on it. So since we were trying to make the story of primitive, why did you leave or why was the decision made to leave the tattoos, which were very, very modern?
It is very difficult to erase a tattoo.
Thank you.
No, you really had the point, but it could be something primitive as well, no? The tattoo. No, it is. I don't know how to call that in English. Like you make air with that, like a vent. The tattoo, no? I'll look for the word.
Okay. Anybody else?
Sure.
And where do you do a recce of the site, or do you just go to the site and then take the shots?
Usually I try to understand the project before going. Like I don't really find a sense in being surprised by the place. except if someone is willing me to be surprised, is wanting me to be surprised. No? But like I take this as a little bit more as an intellectual development than emotional one as a reaction to something that you see for the first time. No? Like I think architecture involves a lot of thought and idea development, and then you filter out things that don't work. So there's a lot of work in the architect's hands and drawings and all the time he spends in building a project, developing it and building it, so that I want to be moved or surprised. I prefer being on this step a little bit before as what were your intentions? How far did we get, and also how do I understand them? And we might do that, like reading plans, seeing pictures, 3Ds. Also, because shooting architecture is not something that you do, like for example, a project in which you have a huge oculus, like the Pantheon in Rome, you might want to shoot it with sunlight direct going through it and cutting the space. No? So a cloudy day is not going to take the advantages out of the project. No? So you take a few decisions before. No? Like, should we have people? Should we not? Should we wait till the project is already functioning? Or should we shoot it when it's void? You know? So all of that is considered before deciding when are we going to shoot the project. No? Then when you get there, there's many things that you understand only when you're there. But I prefer having a previous idea of what are the involvements, so that you also have the time to think about how you want to do it. No?
Anyone else?
Okay.
I don't know if you've heard of architect Gurjeet Matharu in India.
Yeah.
So he uses animals as a object for showing scale of the project.
Yeah.
So instead of involving humans, now all his projects have animals which are like brought on site live. It happened accidentally once, and ever since he narrated that maybe that's his story, that bringing animals for proportion. He'll bring a cow or dog. What is your thoughts on that? Like, instead of humans.
I think that's a cool idea. It's playful, and it somehow involves the reality of India, in which animals and humans share the space and the public space very often. No, so that's a good way of putting that information inside the project. No, but I don't know if it goes further in any other sense. I find it playful and interesting. No, a dog can give you the scale. I sometimes shot cats or dogs, but we don't have cows that often.
I have a question. I have a question, actually. It's to do with when you photograph a building, sometimes you don't like the building. It can happen. I mean, you don't like the building you're photographing.
Yeah, shit happens.
So,
yeah.
So how do you deal with that? Like, how do you then make it look good for
I
the
go back home. Yeah, there's well, when you start, you have to photograph everything. Otherwise, you're not going to be paying bills. But I started very soon trying to avoid things that I didn't feel any involvement with. No, there's this saying that Campo Baeza says, no, like a bad architect that chooses a good photographer is a hypocrite. No, but he can save himself somehow. No, a good architect that doesn't choose a good photographer is stupid, because he's letting go of the value, and it will disappear. No, so it is important to have I think I have that text in my website. That's like the only thing that I have there written. That's Campo Baeza writing about that. So there should be an equilibrium. No, so usually when I don't like the project, it is not really that you don't like it. actually it is not happening anymore. I usually find interest in many projects, also when I don't understand them, because there's a research in doing this job also, no? Like, not all that I photograph is something that I suddenly understand, but it might help me develop a new vision or more profound thoughts about architecture also when you relate it with other cultures with which you're probably less involved. That's somehow also a reason to be here. It's not, there's things that I might have to still learn to understand and love. But then there's also commercial shitty projects. I have two ways. I say I'm busy, or I generate the most expensive fee proposal. And if they go, okay. But you have to feel comfortable with what you do. Otherwise, yeah, and I put a lot of value in the efforts that good architects do. I mean, we are all here somehow to try to make a culture change and evolve towards a better way of doing things. What do we prefer, a bad road or a good road? You guys are building the India that will be there 40 years from now. It is good to take it seriously and make an effort in doing it the best possible way, no? Like when a country is developing so fast, a lot of wrong decisions because we are in a rush and we want the money straight away can be made, and that it's really going to affect the culture and the system in the future, no? So I prefer being involved with people that they might not be huge businesses, but they put a lot of effort in trying to develop spaces that are good for humankind, no? As I know many of you are. Something else? Yeah.
Hello. So for the selection of photo with the architect, while clicking the picture, we click a lot of pictures. But how it happens with you, with the architect, what is the process for you to selecting the picture? Like if you like one picture,
Yeah.
and another picture the architect is preferring that one, so how the balance?
So it goes in several ways, but out of the shooting, I filter out many that I don't think are the best way to tell about. Then there's a few in which we can have a conversation. And that conversation is one of the most interesting parts of the process for me, as it is also talking about the project at the beginning, no? But in that conversation, we might decide how to edit the images also, what ambience we want, what is going to establish a coherence. So it's somehow an agreement, no? I always try to do a second filtering after they are edited. Like once we have had distance from the shooting, I ask them to have another meeting sometimes and say, okay, which are the three that would tell the whole story the best possible way, no? Because I think there's a lot of value in trying to be essential and reduce the amount of information to the minimum, but very connected to the ideas, no? So refiltering. So there's a conversation in which there's an agreement, and then there's possibly a second in which you filter down even further, but I don't always show the same shooting as the architect. Like possibly in my website or my Instagram, you're going to find very, like a small amount of information. Possibly architects are showing of the last house 30 images, I'm only showing 3. You know, it's like small jewels. So I don't have this urge to show all of my work. I prefer trying to show that in which I'm more involved, so because I'm finally showing my way of doing, no? But they also have a different way, which is showing their architecture, and they might be more extensive or choose differently. So finally, you might end up with 2 shootings, yours and his. But he has the amount of images that he needs, no?
And can I know about your editing process, like how you go from raw image to the final image, from the process to editing a little bit of sky to add a contrast, or as you showed?
I would say in general that it is, like I think I said that at the beginning, like I take photography as painting. So you might edit as far as you want, like keeping an ambience of reference to reality, no? Like not like these HDR crazy things or all that, no? But it depends on the project again. So there's masking, there's erasing, there's small corrections, but it usually is. I think that we can have a longer conversation, you and me, about that, no? It's technical, no? Yeah. There's a mic here.
The three videos that we saw had a lot of emotions, different types of emotions involved. The photographs when you do, there's a challenge getting in emotions. So I had a question: which one is the medium that you have taken more? I mean, which is the closer to you? Which medium is more?
I think they are both, but photography is more versatile. You know, so if it is finally about being able to communicate in architecture, I think photography is a little bit more versatile and more control and more, no? Because a video is very difficult to be precise with it. A video only has one reading, no? It's a line, it's a story. But photography is a puzzle. You can reorganize it in different ways. You can make like we saw with the magazine, you can tell about a project in different ways, no? So if it is finally about building tools to communicate well about architecture, I think photography is a little bit more flexible and capable, but video might be better in that, as you said, no? In trying to build somehow an emotion. And like developing something closer to the experience of living that space, because you are somehow empathetic with the roles in the video, and it is closer to having the sense of being in that space, no? So they are complementary. So if it is about communicating architecture, I would say photography, but if it is about enjoying your very personal reading of a project, maybe a video is more capable. So it's like two different uses, or I enjoy both. Like I wouldn't, but photography is more plastic, more, it has a better use, as it is also a little bit more technical, and you don't have to be involved with an emotion to understand an architecture, no?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi. So as we witnessed, you have worked in all parts of the world. And my question to you is, how do you approach, so every part of the world has a different cultural context and taste with regarding to their aesthetic, the subjects of how do they approach things. So do you find it challenging coming from where you do to accommodate clients from all around the world, and do you go out of your way to accommodate their tastes and ideas, or do you have your own do you try to, I wouldn't say push, but try to maintain your own aesthetic, no matter which part of the world the project is in?
Like you cannot really get rid of your aesthetic in the sense of the way you understand thoughts, no?
Sure.
But like for example, when I work in India, I'm much more open to things that I wouldn't understand in Europe unless coming from such a culture. So to say, like, I'm more open to learn about different ways of giving value to the space or having it have a symbolic value. No, for example, a tree in the middle of a court in India might be something very different to the same thing in Europe. No, like I don't know if I understand well, but there's a longer tradition of the importance of accommodating in the interior of the house the presence of a tree. In Europe, it might only be a shade, but here it might have a bigger importance, I think. No, so I might understand better. Like, for example, I was thinking about your project, no, Prasad, like the way that you make the light go down in the court, and there's like a hanging structure that accompanies light to a deepness of the card where there's going to be a tree. Maybe that would be difficult to understand for me in Europe, but here it is an opportunity of learning, you know. So when you move in cultures that are not yours, it is beautiful to be ready to broaden your way of understanding the importance of things. No? So I don't try to force my ideas, but this distance also might generate very interesting conversations on what we consider important, no? And why is that, no? So I wouldn't say a force. I'd say that it generates new opportunities for learning, no?
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah. So I don't know it's a question or not, but it's a simple thing. When we saw your videos, then a narration or script is taking bit louder when that explain the space. So is that narrative set after that space analyzation, or you are giving the importance to the space and then set the narratives?
I'm not sure that I understood.
It's like you are explaining that girl is roaming around that complete building. So did you first visited that space and then after that set your script for doing those things?
Yeah,
Or
in that case, for example, in France, we realized, because we only had a couple of days there, and we understood that we were going to be able to have rain inside, so we thought of it differently. So it was like a reaction to the place, and also a reaction that is easy enough so that you can film something that works. In the psychology faculty in the college, that was more complex, and it came, but the building had already been shot in photography. So I knew very well the building. Like you cannot plan a video like that without knowing the building, knowing the sizes, knowing what's going to work, what isn't, where's the reflections, where, no? So I knew the place before we developed how we were going to build the story, no? But video is usually much more complex, no? So in general, if I do, I know the place well before. Yeah, there's already a photography shoot, and then we might do something else. Okay.
So you were trying to, like you were explaining each project with a single liner. So probably like a one-liner. So probably that came out of the description that the architect gave initially, and part of it developed as you got into the process. So here there is some kind of a story that somebody's built, and then you're taking it ahead through your photography. So this is like one approach to photography. So when you began photographing things, what was the approach that you took? Like you tried to document different landscapes in one part.
Probably at the beginning, I was taking many more pictures. So I was experimenting with the image much more, no? Because you know, in photography, finally what you do is give a new order to the space. No? The relations between things, that's what we sometimes call composition, but I don't like calling it composition. Like if you tell architecture photography through composition, then it is composition. I prefer this idea of look for the idea and trying to translate into image. No? Because it doesn't have to fit composition rules. No? But at the beginning I might be searching for more, and now as time and as you get experience, it's not only that you read their ideas, it's also that you help them transform a little bit. No? Like, for example, the first time I worked with Spasem on this Parikrama project, we had never worked together, and probably it was a little bit more my reading. No? Like they were expecting me to read the building, not so much to tell me their story. No? So there's this evolution from you do a lot of research through image, then you have conversations in which you understand each other, then also the fact that you keep working with the same architect helps you develop a system also. Like working with the same photographer, I think is a good idea. Once you have, like you find a match, no? Fall in love. But then there's also this other step in which you bring your reading, no? So I would say that I do less images, but with a maybe clearer idea in mind, no?
So you consciously chose architectural photography from the beginning?
No, it's an accident. It's an accident.
So
Yeah, I realized I was doing that
okay.
when I had already been doing that for a few years, no? Like, I wish I had been more conscious.
Would you like to elaborate a little bit on that, how that happened? Like,
Well, there was a point in which that was important. I studied architecture in Spain, but I studied a year in Paris. I also studied in Brittany, in France, and in Genova, in Italy. And I was already studying and doing photography for my friends. But when I came back from my final year studying abroad, that same day, there was this very important architect in Spain called Campo Baeza that had seen some of my pictures that I had done for some of my friends. And he told them, who made these pictures? And they said, well, Javier, a friend of ours. Okay, tell him that I want to have dinner with him tomorrow. No? So as I was finishing studying architecture, and like right after, I had a dinner and an offering of working with one of the very best architects in Spain, I had the feeling, well, this works, no? Like, how could I say no to this? This is what I would think of as a dream in a few years, but it was already there, no?
yeah.
So after that, I didn't think much of whether I was taking a decision or not, you know?
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Yeah, I think that's, we can have a little time for smaller conversations if somebody want to stay a little bit, no? Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Javi.